Hello and welcome back. After creating the transaction model, right now we are going to create the interface and the repository of the Cosmos DB to interact with the transactions container in our Azure Cosmos DB. So this is going to be a very simple kind of repeated process for what we have done in the previous repository. So we'll create just a simple interface, transactions repository like that, and we will define the first operation, which is we have delete. That's right. And we will have we are not going to talk about transactions. We will implement the create async, so it's transaction, and we will implement update too. So those are the operations that we are going to, those are the simple ones. We are going to have the more advanced will come in later, but we need to prepare for the main operation, which is the insert or update an existing transaction. So after creating the interface, we need to create the repository here, so we can Cosmos, the same convention that we have followed so far, transactions repository like that. That's cool. So we mark this as public, and here. Okay, great. So we are going to just copy something from here to not repeat the same process on and on and on. So that's great. We're going to paste that here and use this constructor, and here we are going to define the read-only, the container, then we'll say here container equals db.get container, database name and container name. So right now we have the container. Okay, let's make them a little bit more clean. That's so cool. Sorry, here this is important. Transaction, that's the name of the container in the database. And right now to implement the create process, it's very simple. We will first check if transaction equals null, then through argument null exception. That's correct. And finally we just insert to the database, which is await container.create item async. It's very basic and simple. Same for the delete. So we will just check if is null or white space. Here just the repo that will communicate with the database layer, this is the layer that will communicate with the database, but the logic of inserting a new transaction will be like a bit more complicated, and it will also require some more functionalities to be added also to other repositories like the wallets one, and that's what we're going to see deeply in the next video. So it's container.delete item async. So we pass the ID, and I don't think we need to pass the partitioning key. So if we want to pass the partitioning key, then we need to also pass the year, the user ID and the year of the transaction. So let me, instead of pass the ID, let's pass the full transaction here. So transaction like that. Okay, and we are going to check if transaction is equals null. Okay, great. And here we say transaction dot ID. Then for the partitioning key, it's transaction dot user ID year. In this case, we remove the item. And finally the update, just same thing, we copy, paste, and finally we use the full replace. So container dot replace item async, and we pass the item, which is transaction. That's all that you need to pass. So here, okay, it says, yep, we need to like that. So what it takes to, oh, the ID, sorry. So transaction.id. That's it all. Right now we don't need this, just like that. So this repo is very, very basic, and here we have the last edition. We'll just going to achieve the same thing. Great. So this is very basic, but this is essential to basically communicate with the database to insert, update, and delete a transaction. When you are going to start the querying process, then we will have like a kind of complicated queries that will extract statistics and will analyze the transactions to give the user more insights. But we will have a more specific section for that after we implement the upsert and the delete functions fully with all their associated logic. That's great. The last thing is going to do just register this in the dependency injection container. So we can say Cosmos transaction repo. Cool. This is it. So right now we are ready to start kind of write the logic. There is more work to be done, but we are going to do that in the next video by explaining how the logic will be of inserting a full transaction with all the associated operation that we need to do on the level of the wallet, and what other things we need to update, and how to handle like what we call patching and stuff like that in Azure Cosmos DB. That's going to be very interesting. So stay tuned and see you in the next video.